a lot of couples ask the question, or they ask themselves, or they may even ask a forum or a community, are the wedding programs necessary? And it's really more so than considering the opinions of other weddings. I mean, it's nice to get some insight, but really to be able to answer that question, I think it's best to ask yourself the question, what do you want your guests to experience when they walk into the door of your wedding ceremony?
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hi there, this is Ruby Brewer-Watkins of RBW Stationary Events and Wedding Day Details, guest list management for all engaged couples that look for a full service wedding stationer to really help them with their wedding invitations, from fresh custom designs through mailing. These are your seating charts for day of, place cards, wedding menus, table numbers, and more. Welcome to another episode of my very new YouTube podcast. We're getting there, guys. Here on this channel, I believe wedding stationery is so much more than printing. It's a rite of passage. It's a celebration. It's setting the tone. And my goal on this very new podcast is to really build a community of listeners who also believe in making their wedding stationery or any other life celebration more than just printing on paper, and really want to put some thoughts into the process. I want to answer and troubleshoot all of the logistics and questions that come along with the process of planning out your wedding stationery, your invitations, along with the process of really planning them out. And that, again, that's for any type of celebration where printing and lots of organizing is involved. The information I share here is for weddings, but you can use this across the board for many celebrations. Stationery creates an impact on your guest responses, the attendance, the dress, the anticipation. It really creates a moment. And I'm so excited to get this channel moving forward to discuss various topics to inspire any bride or couple who is listening today. So today's episode is about wedding programs, and it's nice that I'm actually multitasking a little bit as I'm recording this, because I'm actually working on wedding programs. I'm working on wedding programs for a wedding that's taking place this weekend, and these are very beautiful. I'm so excited for these to go out and get into the hands of guests. If you want to see more, or if you want to see what these programs look like, you can visit my Instagram page where you can see the images. That'll be coming down the pike soon. I usually share these. We're pretty close to the wedding, so I'll usually share these to my social media page, just days before or just up after the wedding. So if this, depending on when I release this episode, if you don't see the wedding programs that I'm working on right this second, I'm literally tying ribbons as we speak. Make sure you come back and visit my Instagram page, because eventually they will be posted. It's a really beautiful two-fold wedding program with a beautiful silk ribbon. It's a champagne color. And it has a beautiful window cut out in the front. Beautiful. It's a church wedding. And the ceremony is going to be at the Carnegie Museum of Art. But that's just a little tidbit of what I'm working on right now as I'm talking to you guys. But really what I want to talk about is wedding programs. There seems to be a debate on whether or not you would need wedding programs. And I see many couples kind of forego this piece of stationery. And I've also seen it in many different formats. I've seen electronic wedding programs. You may also see wedding programs that are on like a mobile device for people to kind of text to each other at the ceremony. I guess some couples like to save a little bit on paper. I've also seen full on, large 2-3 fold, wedding programs. I mean, I've also seen large signage of wedding programs, and I've even done those myself. All of the wedding programs that I have done have always been a printed piece, whether that's a folded piece, a single card, or a large sign. I've done them all printed. I never have done an electronic wedding program. And there's really nothing that I have against it. I'm just in the business of printed pieces. I think there's so much more to offer, and it makes an impact on an actual printed paper. So that's just, what I do. But a lot of couples ask the question, or they ask themselves, or they may even ask a forum or a community, are the wedding programs necessary? And it's really more so than considering the opinions of other weddings. I mean, it's nice to get some insight, but really to be able to answer that question, I think it's best to ask yourself the question, what do you want your guests to experience when they walk into the door of your wedding ceremony? That's the question that you want to ask yourself. When your guests arrive to your wedding ceremony, they're going to first get to where they need to go. Sometimes, depending on where that is, that can be hopefully it's easy, but for some venues, depending on how far they need to trek once they park their car, it could be an experience just even getting to the door. And then once they walk into your wedding ceremony, they're ushered to their seat, and then they're sitting there, and then they're waiting. They're waiting for the ceremony to start. And at that point in time, guests will start to think, some guests will and some guests won't, is there a wedding program? So something that they can look to familiarize themselves with what's getting ready to take place. Is that something that you want for your guests? That's something you need to ask yourself. If it is, then you may want to have some wedding programs or some type of printed piece so guests can have something to go through so they can familiarize themselves with the order of service that's getting ready to take place. Also ask yourself, these particular programs that I'm working on is a blending of two faiths. So it's an interfaith. It's a couple that's, one couple, and this could be any case. There might be one couple that comes from one religion, there's a couple that comes from another, and there's a blending of two cultures, two families, and it's nice to be able to, show that to the guests, allow them to be a part of that experience, and educate them a little bit, if you will, on, even provide some fun facts, just to make it nice so guests can understand what's exactly happening and they're not sitting there wondering what's going on. So that's helpful to have something in, a nice written piece so guests can look through it and become familiar with these services and everything that's taking place, especially if you have rituals or any type of other things that are going to take place during the ceremonies. Ceremonies don't last long. Some couples say, oh, the ceremony is only going to be 30 minutes long. So, what are we going to print programs for? Yes, the ceremony is a very short period of time. Sometimes they're 30 minutes, sometimes they're an hour. But it is one of the biggest moments in your life. And so I take that 30 minutes and I recommend every couple to make the most out of the 30 minutes. Yes, it's only a 30-minute ceremony. This is 30 minutes of your life that is just, you're creating a moment and a memory. So it's really more so of a personal choice if you want to have wedding programs or not. Now, I was just mentioning the order of service and then making sure your guests are familiar with what's happening. The other thing you want to ask yourself, if you want to share with your guests who's who in the wedding. If you have a large bridal party and you have 100 plus guests, then you may want to let the guests know who's a part of the wedding party, have names in print. A lot of people in a bridal party actually appreciates that. And then the order in which they'll be processing down the aisle, guests will know who's who. So it makes for a nice understanding so your guests understand the flow and they're not standing there trying to figure things out. They have something that they can, go off of. Yes, the thought of someone throwing away wedding programs will come to mind. But the way I see it is the wedding programs that I know that I create and the ones that you order depends on what it looks like. If a guest feels like they don't need it, they actually won't take one. But if a guest takes them, they actually appreciates them and they'll actually hold on to them, especially if they're very pretty. They're not going to just throw them away. Yeah, a few might get left behind, but if you think about the overall purpose of them, most of your guests will actually appreciate that. And whoever's officiating will actually also appreciate that as well. Whoever your musicians are, some type of program I think will be helpful. The other thing to keep in mind too is you don't need as many wedding programs as the number of guests you have attending. There's several reasons for that. You have guests that are arriving together. So they only may, if there's a couple arriving, there's two, they may only take one, or they may take two. Most will take one. If there's, a family coming and there's kids, things like that, they're only going to need one or two. You can really control, the number of programs that go out to make sure that, only one or two go out per set, and you just need to talk to your ushers about that. But at least gives everyone the ability to, have something to go from. So that'll also save you on some costs if you feel like it's either a waste of money. You don't need to print as many. Okay, I would probably say 30% less than what your anticipated guest count is. Additionally, a lot of guests show up late, and there are some guests who just don't arrive to the ceremony. They only show up to the reception only. So you may not need as many. Me personally, I think wedding programs are very important. I have couples who I've worked with from start to finish who order programs, and I have many couples who don't. It really is a personal preference, and it's okay either way. But really, to find the answer to your question when you ask if you're getting married, if you need wedding programs, or do you need wedding programs, ask yourself, what do you want your guests to experience? What kind of information do you want to share with your guests to make to really elevate that experience even more? And, giving your guests something to be able to look at while they're waiting, for, things to kind of happen, and allowing them to become familiar. So, think of yourself as a guest. Are those some things that you really appreciate, or if you don't? And then you'll be able to decide from there. Okay, so I hope this helps, with determining if wedding programs is for you or not. But really think about it. There are so many beautiful options out there for wedding programs, and, I'm a big advocate for communication and creating experiences. So yes, I actually do like them. But I also find too, depending on who the couple is and what they have going on, sometimes they just might not be necessary. So, yeah, especially if you don't have like a bridal party, or even if there's something, a nice message you want to share with your guests. There are a couple different ways you can do that. But if you're going to invest in them, make sure you make it nice. Make it nice. Make sure it's printed beautifully. Really put some thought into it. Get with your officiant. Find out, how they usually, do things, and really set it up so it's nice. Okay, and guests will actually appreciate that. And that way you'll have a few keepsakes too, so you can have it, down the line, when you can look back years later and, remember the day. Another thing you can also put into your programs, if you want to show a loving memory to your family who are gone but not forgotten, they're in your hearts forever, such as, immediate family members, if you want to recognize them. That's one way to do it, is through your wedding programs. Okay, this particular program that I'm working on is for a Catholic wedding, and they have the order of service for the ceremony, and they have the different songs that are being, presented by different families. There's readings happening. And then they have the names of those individuals who be, conducting the reading. And then there's, certain scriptures that are being read. And then on another page, there's another order of service, because, again, there's, quite a bit that's happening. And it lists everything that's going to happen: exchange of vows, the rings, the prayers, more readings, things like that. And then there's another page that really lists everyone in the wedding party and the parents, the ushers, a special thank you message from the couple, and then the final page is an loving memory page. I think it's beautiful. It really just creates a moment, and it's something that guests can keep. This is really a beautiful keepsake, and so think about it. Think about what you want. Think about how you really want to make this day yours, and decide then if you would like to have a wedding program. Okay, it is not, don't throw it out completely and say, oh, this is just a waste of paper, we don't need it. Really think about your experience and what you want those 30, 45 minutes or an hour to look like for your guests. Okay, all right, I hope this helps you. I'm going to keep this, I don't know if this was short or not, but I am literally multitasking while I'm talking to you. I'm excited to get these complete and out the door. I'm working very fast on this, and I'm talking at the same time. So come back and see me again, or hear me again. But I'll be around. So I hope wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day. And if you're planning a wedding, I hope that all is going well for you. And just enjoy every moment through the process. And I'll talk to you next time. Take care.